All right. Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Grace Togun Olugbodi. She is an inventor. I like that about her, but I'll not want to spoil anything. I want her to tell her story herself. So glad to have you here, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, yes. So we're here just, to encourage people, especially those who have like a bit of a problem with the traditional educational system, that it still works and it's the most sustainable way to earn a livelihood. So but we're going to tell this story with people's experiences, people's lives, so that it doesn't seem like pie in the sky kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So right. So thank you for having given us your time here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So we would like to ask, start by asking you to tell us a little bit about your beginnings, tell us about your background, please.
Yeah, okay. So I was born in Manchester, and which is in the UK. And when I was about 3 or 4, my parents took me back to Nigeria, so shipped us back over the ship. and and we went straight into University of Ife, which is the quarters in Ife. So we were living in senior staff quarters. My parents were lecturers.
Okay.
My mom actually she just retired as well,
Oh.
a professor in health sciences, and my dad was a lecturer in physics as well. And so yeah, so I grew up on campus, in the university campus, and it was such a wonderful experience. Very serene, very quiet, very sheltered though. And even within there, we would usually not even go to town, which is outside of the campus, even within the town of Ife where we live. So like everything we needed was usually there in quarters.
Yes.
And so we grew up with lots of people, many homes, hundreds of homes, if not 1,000. I'm not really sure how many exactly, but definitely hundreds. And it was such a great experience. It was like a big, massive family.
Yeah.
So that was my background, and I grew up amongst professors. So don't blame me if I'm a little bit geeky. I know I don't. I know I don't look geeky, but I am honestly a geek and a nerd.
I see. Okay.
But people can't really tell. But don't blame me. Blame my parents. I grew up amongst professors.
You don't really look like a geek, I tell you that one. All right. So, what did you study in college?
Yeah, so at university, I studied here in the UK, and I did computing.
Computing.
So, yeah, I had a first class in computing and information systems for my bachelor's. And my master's was in financial markets with information systems.
Okay, can I ask you, were you always like interested in IT, or was there something that drove you in that direction?
No, I was interested in maths, but I didn't want to study. Yeah, maths. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But so I wanted to study something close to maths, but not maths, just to spread my wings a little bit. And I remember hearing my dad saying, "Oh, the world is becoming, is about to become a world of, an IT world or a computing world or something." Okay. So I didn't really know what that meant or what that would mean. But I thought, okay, if the world is going that direction, yeah, I should. And obviously, computing, the basis of it is, analytical stuff and maths and stuff like that. So because I love maths and wanted to study something related to maths anyway, I thought I'll go for computing, because I thought there'd be a wider range of jobs and things you can specialize in there. So that's why I chose to do computing.
Okay. So you learned how to program computers and that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. By trade, I'm a Java programmer, and Java is a software programming language. Yes.
Do you still do it?
It's fancy. I resigned from investment banking a few years ago, but I worked in investment banks for many years doing Java. I've been teaching my children Java. So yeah, I guess you can say I still do it, but just for fun.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. When you finished school, did you like go from undergraduate to master's straight, or did you work a little bit in between?
No, I worked, yeah. So when I finished my bachelor's, I went into investment banking, so started working in the bank. And then about a year in, I then decided to do my master's as well. So, but I did my master's while still working. Call
Oh, I
me
see.
crazy.
Tell
Call
us
me
about that.
crazy.
What was it like? Was it like every day you went to school, or was it online, or how did you manage? That's
I
tough.
literally, yeah, I know. I literally I worked full time and did my master's full time at the same time. And
Whoa.
I was also pregnant because I was nearly
Oh
married
my gosh.
at the same time. So yeah, I warned you that I am a bit of a geek and a nerd and a little bit crazy, but yeah. So I did all
Okay,
three together.
okay. Let's slow down a little bit. So tell us about the schedule. Work was like what time to what time? School was like what time to what time? And then
Yeah,
baby was like
unfortunately.
what time to what time? Because that part I wasn't thinking about.
Well, unfortunately, investment banking means that it's early to late, really. So I'll keep it fair and say sort of 9 to 6:30. Honestly, if I was leaving at 6 o'clock, I felt bad because that felt really early.
Yeah.
So yeah, 9 to 6:30 sort of. However, doing my masters, our courses were 6 o'clock. You know, they were starting at 6 o'clock. Luckily for me, the university was not far from
From the work.
my work. So yeah, so the university was also within the city. So it was about, I think, maybe 7 or 10 minutes walk. And I remember always rushing. I wouldn't want to
Of
leave.
course.
I
Because you
won't
want
want
to
to leave. Yeah,
bounce off.
exactly.
Yeah.
I won't want to leave work too early. So I'll leave at 6 and I'll run literally with a pregnant
I know.
with a huge
I
tummy.
know.
I'll literally run all the way to uni.
I know.
So I'd be a few minutes late for uni because there's no, you can't do both
I know.
perfectly. Yeah. So yeah, and then I would go to uni right after from work. But it
So
wasn't every day. Uni,
I
even though it
know.
was full time, it wasn't every day. It was like 3 days a week.
Yeah, but I did that myself. So it wasn't every day doesn't mean you don't have to work at it every day. You still have
Oh
to,
yeah, oh
you know,
yeah, of
you always
course.
have something to do, and so you have to cut out that
Assignments.
time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think I know what you're talking about because I had to do it myself, and I didn't find it funny at all.
No,
I
did you
didn't
do it
find it
full
funny
time as
at
well?
all.
Both of it full time.
Yeah, yeah, both of them full time. Yeah,
Oh yeah, so you're
I
just
didn't
as
find it
crazy
funny
as
at
I
all.
am. Yeah. Except you didn't have the tummy.
Yeah, and that's what's really blowing my mind right now. Because I remember one night I was trying to write I was trying to write a professional exam at the time. So I remember one night at about maybe 12:30 or something. I literally almost burst into tears. Like, what is going on?
I know,
And then you even
it's
had a
really
baby
hard.
to deal with on top of that. Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
It's
So
really
for those
hard.
who are watching, I think what we should bring out of this is, it's gonna cost you, progress is gonna cost you something,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Grace makes it sound very nice, but it's not.
It
It's not
wasn't
easy.
fun, by the way. It was not fun.
Yeah, yeah. But why is it that you chose that time, and why did you think it was important to keep both of those candles burning, the work and school?
I mean, it certainly wasn't going to make sense not to go to work and go and do a master's instead. Definitely not. After
Okay.
having started out on a career, then it was important to keep that going, especially since that was what I wanted to do. So I think stopping that to do a master's wasn't an option. The master's itself, honestly, in the end, having done the masters, I don't know that I really needed it. Actually, I would have still been in investment banking. So I think I just wasted like 7,000
No,
pounds.
I
You
don't
know,
think so. I don't think so. I think it cements your position really. Um, I think for someone
um,
like you that has like hard skills, it's quite different. It's difficult to distinguish. For example, you create things with your
mm,
mind. And
mm,
so, having a master's degree doesn't define you. You have some,
no.
yeah, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
different for you, but I honestly don't think it was not worth it, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I wanted to do it in the first place is because I'd done a master's in computer. Sorry, I'd done my BSc in computing. And now I was working in investment banking, and I thought that the financial markets masters would just then help me, understand investment banking a little bit more, or would help me, since that was the direction I was going.
Yeah.
And I can't tell 100%, by the way. I can't say that. I can only say, oh, I'm not sure that I needed it. I'm not saying that I definitely did, because who knows? You never know. Maybe it helped to move on to the next, when I moved on to the next level of the next bank and all that. Who knows what they were looking at, or who knows what they really wanted, But my thoughts at the time was it was going to help me when I did it. It was later on, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Whether it did help or not. But the BSc was important, I mean, you can't, it's not an option.
Yeah, that's like hardcore stuff you're talking about. To you, it's normal, but when people hear Java, they usually, escape in the other direction.
True. A lot of my classmates ran away from Java.
Yeah, it's no joke, So it takes a certain level of discipline to even get through it, not to mention talent. So would you say you're someone who struggled to, do you work hard to study, or it just comes naturally for you?
Oh no, I work hard. To come naturally. I wish it did come naturally, but it doesn't, unfortunately. But I tell you what comes, I won't call it naturally, but what comes, what I like doing is I like working hard. I'm a workaholic anyway, so I love working. I know it sounds a bit like punishing myself, but I do love working.
Yeah, I'd like some clarity on that, because it's an ethic type of thing, and it's something that is a common thread with people who do well. They just know to give their best at whatever it is that they're doing. So where does that come from? Is it something that can be learned, or you either have it or you don't?
I think that, I think people can certainly improve wherever they find themselves, whatever habits they find that they have. Habits can certainly be improved and be learned. But I think that if you're motivated, if you're self-motivated, then I think it helps, because then and especially if you sort of, mantra, or, if one of your main mantras is really doing things properly. Like for me, one of my main things is, if it's worth doing it, so it's worth doing well, So, and I always believe in going the extra mile, doing things properly. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And I want to just see that what I'm doing is I'm doing it properly. Otherwise, what's the point doing it at all? So I think if that isn't one of, let's say there's a particular person who that's not really one of their mantras, then them knowing that whatever it is they're doing, if they do it properly and go the extra mile, then they will have some doors open up to them. That can be motivation enough to learn, to just keep in mind to do things, to do things much more than they would normally do things, go the extra mile.
Thank you for sharing that. So nice to know that the rest of us can learn it.
You're right. I bet you're a workaholic yourself.
No, I'm not. I prefer to goof around, but of course that doesn't pay the bills. So
we all prefer to, but we just can't. I wish I could. I just can't. That's the problem.
Yeah. So what, do you mind sharing what bank you worked with and what exactly you found yourself doing on a day-to-day basis with your skills?
Yeah. So initially, when I first finished, I started with Dresdner Bank. So at the time, it was called Dresdner Kleinwort Benson. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. Yeah, and yeah, actually, when I first finished, I had 5 different offers, nice. Job offers. So it was really hard to choose. And then I remember I had to call my uncle and say, what do you think? And he was like, okay, write the pros and cons of each one and all that kind of stuff. So I chose Dresdner Bank, and in my first year, I remember that just coming in as a graduate, of course, they assume I don't know anything, and I didn't, apart from my BSc, so they sent me on loads of courses. So I think literally my first year, or my first 10 months, I spent a lot of it, probably every other week on average, on 5-day courses, which were like so fab, learning and learning and learning and learning and learning, a whole range of different topics. And in fact, they would let me choose what topics to go for, and then I would book the course and I would go, and I'd be getting paid at the same time too. So I did a lot of that, I would say, in my first year. And then, gradually started to actually program things on the, working on the systems that the traders would use to trade. And after a while, I moved on to my next bank, which was Deutsche Bank, and that's where I really did a lot of, it was kind of a grown-up kind of position. So unfortunately, I wasn't being pampered anymore.
No, that's probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't as fun as the first job, but it was still good in the sense that at least I was learning, but they definitely put that, I definitely had a lot more responsibility, and I was literally programming. That's what a programmer does. You just got to work.
So were you like helping them to, how do you say, solve business problems? That.
Absolutely. So in an investment bank, obviously the traders are trading, they're trading stocks, right? And they have all these huge systems, and they connect to Bloomberg and Reuters and all that kind of, all the data systems. So what we as programmers always had to do, and certainly me, it could be, for example, I had a project in which I had to program the order system. So an order is a bank or a company saying that we want to buy this number of shares, or we want to trade foreign exchange with, we want to trade this certain foreign exchange, or we want to buy this certain types of shares. And so I had to program the system in which those people would place that order with, and even though the bank had one before, it was now obsolete and stuff, and there was now new technology like Java and stuff. So I had to program those things and then create a whole system where the customer, who was a corporate customer, of course, will then, log into that system, choose the stocks they want, place the order, and then the order would go straight to the traders who are trading on the trading floor, so that then they can say, okay, accept the order, or don't accept the order, or accept some of it or not. So it's like someone placing an order and someone accepting the order from the other end, or rejecting it, or then saying, no, you can only have this number of shares and not this number that you're ordering. So that kind of thing. So that's one, for example, one system that I had to create.
This is amazing. You make it sound like it's just, go to the kitchen and get a donut, and that is actually like proprietary kind of stuff. You create stuff that wasn't existing before to solve a real problem.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you get like rewards for that, or it was just part of the paycheck?
No, that's just part of that's the job that's what you do as a programmer. You program things. Yeah.
That is heavy duty stuff, and wow, I wish you could talk more about that, but you're one of those few people that gets to see the fruit of their labor, after you're done. You see how you've made people's lives easier, and that's just such a blessing. I think I can just
I absolutely loved programming. Yeah. I loved programming. It was really fab.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I was going to ask something about, I hate to bring up the subject, but there's this gender issue that's really a huge topic in, social and economic discourse. Did you ever feel like you were disadvantaged, or, that sort of thing in your journey?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, in my first bank, again, when I was a graduate, I didn't feel like that. By the time I got to my second one, first of all, every single team I've been all the while I was in investment banking, and I worked in 5 banks total over the time I was in investment banking.
Okay.
And every single one of them, I was either the only female.
Not surprising.
Yeah, or one of the only 2.
Oh, wow.
But usually the only female, and certainly 100% the only Black female. So naturally, there are those, there are there's some things where there's a natural bias against women in a field like, programming. That's a man's world. It's not a woman's world at all. And so, for example, getting pregnant, I remember I had HR say to me, well, these are things you plan. You don't just fall pregnant.
No way.
You gotta plan this.
No way.
And I left the HR meeting crying all the way back because it was in another building, which wasn't far off from. Yeah, I cried all the way back to the office.
Oh wow, that sucks.
I know. Yeah. So those kind of things, there's a lot of those kind of things that go on where in anything that's a man's world, and even now with what I do with maths games and all that, it's also a man's world still, so
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Huh? Okay, I'd like before we get to the really fun part, I'd like to talk a little bit about, because the workplace is something that we all have to deal with. And I don't want our listeners or viewers thinking that it's always going to be a joyride, That is, putting in your best does not necessarily mean you're going to have a smooth ride. So do you mind sharing some difficult times you've had in the workplace and how you, shall we say, overcame them?
Yeah, I mean, that the one I've just talked about, that's certainly one of them. And how did I overcome that? I mean, I just saw it as there was no choice. I couldn't resign, like that would be ridiculous, So I think I overcame that one by just crying it out. Sometimes you feel better when you cry. So I literally cried. Yeah, you have to try that, spoke to my uncle, just really talking about it, made me feel better. My parents, obviously, who are in Nigeria, they wouldn't understand, So it was just a case of really, it was reminding myself why I was there and what I'm trying to achieve with my career, and not putting it, not letting other people dictate how my life was going to go within my career, how my whole path was going to go, So I would say that I overcame that one by just, keeping in mind who I was, remembering who I was, and just, carrying on facing what I've been sent there to do. Yeah. And there were other, types of difficulties, like, for example, me being given a job, especially when I was still new, not in the first bank. As I said, that was a wonderful ride all the way through, They even paid for my master's.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Not the one I did in the end, but I started the master's first with Carnegie Mellon University in America, even though I was here, it was going to be remote and all that. And they had started paying for that, and all that. But then unfortunately there was a crash around then. I think it was 9/11 happened around then. So so they couldn't continue paying for it. And, but where was I supposed to get 32 grand from? So I stopped doing the Carnegie Mellon one and then did my master's in a uni here with a normal price that I could pay for.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Especially at that time, in those days, it was like, So, but I also remember being given a certain piece of work that I didn't know how to do. So then I was sitting there thinking, okay, well, they'll teach me how to do it, And I remember my supervisor telling me on day 2 that, hello, you got to find a way to do it. Just, speak to whoever you need to speak to, search online, practice, watch videos, whatever, but you just need to get it done. You're being paid very well for this. You just got to get it done, And I remember that felt like a slap on my face, or like somebody had dealt me a big blow, And I did a double take, like, okay,
this is the real world.
This is the real world, So of course I survived. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have been kicked out. So I did manage to do it somehow. I'm sure I spoke to a few people around me who helped me, how do I do this and how do I do that? Programming is certainly not an easy kind of role to do. And I remember even while learning it at university, I remember the day that it finally clicked. I literally had a headache. This is literal. I'm talking like literal. I was literally trying to just do something really simple. But when you're just learning something, it's like a baby starting to walk. To actually start walking very fast is a big task for the baby. It's not for us, but it's a huge task for the baby. So it's like that when I was learning programming initially. I literally had a headache to just even get it right. But I remember the day that I cracked the code and understood what programming was all about after months of trying to crack it. So so now going back to investment banking, when I had this role, this particular job to do that I didn't know how to do, it was a case of really leaning into how I'd initially cracked programming in the first place and turned that corner from somebody who didn't know it and wanted to run away, like a lot of my other colleagues did, to somebody who now understood it. And it was grit. It was resilience. It was just not green. I will say not green, like I shan't grey. I will get this. You and I, one of us is going to survive and one of us are going to die. And you ain't going to be me, So it was that kind of, that's how I overcame even the one, what I had to do at the bank as well. When you see that you have no choice, or when you decide, because everyone has a choice, right? But when you decide that you haven't got a choice and you just have to make it work, then you do make it work. There's a quote, I love this quote by, I think his name is Goethe. I think it's pronounced Goethe, Goethe, where he says that, the moment you make a decision, like everything you need will just start conniving somehow or another, resources, people, whatever, for you to find a way to get it done.
Take the first step and things will fall in place.
Yeah, it will start falling in place.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So this is interesting though. I thought that, I guess I was a little bit misinformed about that. I thought that if you had a very, deep background in programming, you would find it easier to solve real world problems. But from what you're saying, it doesn't necessarily pan out like that.
I mean, you need the background, which is where the background is just by learning, really, and by practicing. That's the background. What other background is there, Because no one's born with it. We have to, the only way to learn it was to learn and practice and keep practicing and making sure that you don't give up when it feels like you should, because it can be very frustrating. But then when you've practiced it enough, you will then know that, okay, there's really nothing that you can't find a solution to. It might take a while. As long as you're not giving up and you're keeping at it, there will be a way out, some solution somehow, so you try different ways.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like adding numbers together and doing 24 plus, when you were younger, you were doing 24 plus 36, and then you had to do 245 plus 348. And you're like, this is impossible.
Yeah,
but when you finally do it, then you know that you can do whether it's 9-digit numbers that you're adding together or 1,000,000-digit numbers, you'll get there somehow. You just use the same principles and keep it.
I think I understand that. Thank you for sharing that. One last thing before we go on to your game. Do you think anybody can be a programmer? Or because IT is such a, I don't know, the best way to explain it is it's a big thing now. And I feel like everybody should have their hands in it one way or another, But do you think it's for anybody can do it, or it's only for a certain kind of person?
I certainly think anyone can do it. It's a skill, and any skill just needs practice and learning. So yeah.
Okay, practice and learning. Okay, practice. Okay, that makes sense. I'm saying this because I also have started the journey, even though not like you who did it in like at college and graduate level. And I'm having my struggles with sinking my teeth in. But I also know that there are people out there who think that the world is locked out to them, and I wanted you to mention that so that they realize that it's not something that's out of reach.
No, definitely not. It's definitely doable.
So thank you for sharing that. Now, you're better known these days as the one who invented a math game that makes kids fall in love with mathematics. Can you tell us a bit about your inspiration for that and how you came to that point?
Yeah. So that's from way back, which might surprise you. But when I was 10 years old.
Really? That long?
Well, that's where the inspiration came from eventually, So just to backtrack a little bit, when I was 10 years old, my dad, he supported me in maths, and he made maths fun and creative for me, and turned me from an average C student in primary school to an A student in secondary school. When I was in primary school, even up until I left primary school, I always used to wonder, and I'm not going to mention names, but I always used to wonder about those other kids who were in the best classes. There were some certain classes for the smart ones, and the smart ones were the maths ones, period. Forget about all the other subjects. In those days, the smart ones were the maths ones, you know. And so I always wondered why I was always like in the middle, or just, you know, just not good enough to be there in those classes. Yeah, I think they were in like J and K or something classes.
Yeah, I was one of those people you referred to.
Yeah, you see, they were in J and K.
I don't know
And
how I was doing it back then.
You never know. So you were the ones that I was always like, how come these people like J and K? Like, I want to be in J and K, you know, but my maths wasn't good enough, you know. Okay, so I literally had.
I didn't know that though. I didn't know that that was actually what was. I just thought we were split into classes, you know. Didn't matter. So that's interesting.
No, well, in my year group, though, I don't know about your year group, but in my year group, honestly, the J and K.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense now that you say it. It kind of makes sense.
They were the ones.
Seemed like everybody around me was some kind of genius, so that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I was like in the next class down. JK. No, sorry. What was the one for?
Yeah, I think it was L.
I don't know. I can't remember what class I was in, but yeah. I'm not sure if it was alphabetical order, but I know that before the JK is where I was, which wasn't the one for the smart children. Okay. So finished primary school like that, being average, or a little bit, a little bit below for the people who are in J and K, you know. Which would also
turned out to be a programmer. That's amazing. Okay. Please go on.
Yeah, and then during the summer was when my dad now, you know, did this, you know, he did a lot of fun math stuff with me. And I always say he didn't really teach me maths. He made it fun and creative.
Okay.
And then secondary school, end of the year, I could not, and then I went to secondary school. And the end of the year of that first year, I couldn't believe it when they called out the name of the person who won the maths prize out of like 300 and something students. And it was me.
Oh my goodness. That's transformation.
Well, that's not possible. You know, like I obviously made a mistake.
Oh, you know? I wish I could have been there to see your face.
No, I was so shocked. Everyone was shocked. It wasn't just me. You know, everyone was shocked because nobody saw it coming. I didn't see it coming either. You know, and I remember clearly that my average overall was 84%, and you know, and then I was the one who got the highest in maths.
Nice.
So that completely transformed me, and it gave me, I would say, a lot of self-confidence. You know, and then so from then on, I loved maths, and then started going, you know, school competitions and all that kind of stuff. I also won the maths prize a few other times in secondary school, including for the maths. You know,
nobody wanted to touch.
No one wanted to touch it, but hey, because I'd won the maths prize, I now feel like, oh, I can do it, you know, because it gives you confidence, right? You feel like, okay, I can attempt that, I can do it, you know. So then you take on further maths and you do further maths, and then at the end of the year, you get the maths prize, the further maths prize as well, you know. So, so that really, really transformed me, and then I remember that my nickname even changed. Like I had a nickname, they used to call me Babyface before then. And then afterwards, when I won the maths prize, they started, you know, this naughty boys, very naughty boys. Anyway, we're all friends now, but they were very naughty boys at the time. And then they started calling me another name. They were calling me Solid or something like that. Some kind of weird name. Like I'd be walking along and they'd be like, Solid. And that was me, they were calling. So I'm like, oh, really?
Talk about changing the label with your action. Right. Wow, that's amazing.
Right, so that's why I then went on to study computing, because I wanted to study maths, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Or rather, I wanted to do something related to maths, you know. But I always say that my first class in computing, I always say that I orchestrated my first class by choosing the more maths-like units. This isn't a genius thing, or I'm just normal. I'm just as normal as everyone else, except I orchestrated it. Yeah, except I orchestrated my first class by using those more maths-like units. I just played to what my new strengths were, you know. And so one day I was at university in my first year, and I saw an advert in the Student Union building, and they were asking for volunteers who could go into schools and help children who were struggling with maths build their maths confidence, but through games and through creative ways. So I thought, oh, wow, how can I not volunteer? And of course, I was heartbroken for these children because they were suffering from mathematical anxiety. And I recognized that. And maybe mine wasn't as bad as this kid's, because I was kind of average, and maybe some of these kids that they're talking about are like, children who had low confidence for maths, so their situation was even worse. They were even younger. They were like 6, 7, 8, and I was just absolutely heartbroken for them. And I thought, this is wrong. Like, it shouldn't be causing children to suffer. It should be fun. They shouldn't be having low confidence because of maths, So I thought I couldn't not spot volunteer.
Okay.
And I then used to go into schools once a week. And then we used to play games with the kids, certain maths games that we picked up to play with, that we were given to play with them. And then we would help them stimulate their thinking and all that so that they could get better at maths. And within 6 weeks, the children, their confidence had turned around, and their teachers told her that they had started engaging more in class, and they were putting their hands up more in class, and they were, a lot more confident than they were before. So I could see that same story playing out. We didn't teach them maths either. We simply played games with them, but we had a little method around it, but it wasn't anything spectacular that isn't teachable to parents or to teachers, And these children's lives as well now had turned around. By the end of the year, we were told that the children had raised their maths levels by 1 level, all of them bar none.
Nice.
So I saw that same story that played out in my life when I was 10 years old, play out in this kid's life again. And that's when I started to think about what I could do to help parents as well as teachers support children more to love maths.
Makes sense. So how did you come up with the elements that you put together to make this product? Was that all you, or you had to engage with?
Yeah, so it wasn't fun because it was hard, very, very hard. I didn't know how to create a maths game. I didn't know anyone who'd created a maths game. As you can probably see, I am an ethnic minority in England, so I couldn't, so of course I had the imposter syndrome. And saying to myself, well, who told you that you, of all people, can create a game that children would love and that other people would love? This isn't a Black people's game. What makes you think that you can create a game that everyone would love? So that was really hard. It took me years. I had my prototype since as far back as 2003. I didn't launch it until 2016.
Wow. And what kept you waiting that long? Wow.
Fear of failure.
Wow. Did you have to change anything significant in that time period, or?
Yes, certainly. Even as of the start of 2015, mentor. So I got a mentor just at the end of 2014 into the start of 2015. And he said that he knows about games a lot. He has a lot of experience. He also has kids. He's also a governor in a school and all that. So he said to me that he thought that the game was the mechanics, which is how you play the game that I came up with. He said that was great. He said, but the board, he said it wouldn't work. He said, lose the board and create a new board. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do? I literally, again, I cried because
I should start doing that myself, man. Maybe it works. At least you get over the milestone.
I didn't cry when he told me. Of course, I pretended to be like, okay, all right, I'll just do that. But the truth is, I can't draw, Yinka. I don't know how to draw anything. I can't draw anything at all. Maybe a chair. I can draw a chair. That's all. I can't draw anything else. Seriously, I cannot draw. So how do you want me to come up with another board, something I've had for 12 years and I've been worried about even launching it and stuff like that? How do you want me to create a new board to then make it something that's launchable? Because I can't draw. That's why you can probably see that the game is really a very simple board. My mentor said, don't worry, just create something very simple. Anything, a circle, a square, a triangle, an oval, anything. So that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
I created something, but at least he had said that the mechanics were great, which is how to play it. So then I had to adapt those mechanics to the new board that I drew. But he's the one who gave me the confidence to finally launch the game. So I'll forever be grateful to him.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And what's the name of your game for our viewers who are going to rush and go and buy for their children very quickly.
It's called Race to Infinity.
Race to Infinity. And where can we get your game?
On Amazon. Amazon USA, Amazon UK.
Okay. And is there something we need to know as teachers about how to deploy the game better?
Just play the game.
Just enjoy it, huh?
Just play the game. Yeah. So that yeah. So what I tried to do is to put in is to try and mask a lot of the problems that parents have that when they're worried about how to support their children with maths. Because the main problem is that parents are worried and don't know how to help their children with maths. So it's for children, by the way, age 6 to 13, really, mostly primary school. Yeah, mostly elementary and middle school. So and it just ingrains a lot of the basic maths that, elementary, just the basic necessary skills that children need to have in maths. And it relates back to real life because children don't know how to relate maths to real life. So just by playing the game with your child, it means that you're supporting your child to improve in their math skills and enjoy maths more.
Okay, thank you. I think that's also important because the foundation is what, any good building, long-lasting building stands on. So yeah, good foundation is not to be overemphasized. So thank you for helping us to find a solution to that problem. I'm thinking now, would you mind sharing how many units you've sold so far? I mean, just a range, you don't have to give us a figure. Do you mind sharing that?
I think it'll be difficult, so.
Just above 1,000 units, above 10,000 units, above, that sort of
thing. I still think it'll be difficult to say.
You don't want to tell us, huh? Okay, that's good news for me. So the reason why I'm asking is, I'm trying to measure the impact, and it's, that's like the simplest way, It's a little harder to go into the individual stories,
Yeah, I think I can say that I didn't expect the results. Certainly, I didn't expect the results.
That's fair enough then.
When I launched it, I really thought that. Oh, by the way, I'm still very far from where I would where I need to get to. By the way, so yeah. I'm still right there in the trenches. If you know what I mean. I call myself a hustler. I'm still hustling. By the way, but I also did not expect even this results that I've had so far. And I remember that just before I launched it, a year before I launched it, I think I remember saying to my husband in the kitchen, and I said, you know what, I know it's going to fail. But I'm going to launch it.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible.
I did. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, let it fail. I'm going to launch it anyway, And I said, if it would kill me, that I would get the board game out. So I said, if it's the last thing I do on this earth, I will get the game out, So because I thought it was going to fail, even though I'd now had a bit of confidence to launch it, but I still thought, what's the worst case scenario? It'll fail, right? Yeah. Let it fail. I'll launch it. I'll know that I launched it anyway, So now 4.5 years down the line, I'm still in it.
That is important to know, even if, no matter what you do, just try anyway, give it your best and try anyway.
Exactly.
So that's really good to know. But you're no longer an investment banker these days. And if I'm not mistaken, this is what you pursue for the bulk of your time now?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, considering that you're a mathematician, I'm sure that, it'll be worth your while before you make that decision, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. So, did you get like a patent or anything like that for this, or you didn't have to?
Yes, I had to get, they're called design patents. When you design something, it's something called design patents that you get for it. Yeah.
How does it feel to be someone who is up there amongst the greats, who has a patent to his name? Do you mind sharing?
Well, I don't feel like I'm up there, honestly. I just feel like normal. I just feel like, okay, that needs to be done. All right, then.
Wow, it's really awesome stuff. It's really awesome stuff. To do something that hasn't been done before, it's really, really awesome stuff. I know you're being a little bit humble about this, but not everybody gets to experience that, and you are an inspiration. I tell you that,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So you mentioned something about ethnic minorities very, you know, lightly in the course of our conversation. And I don't really like the subject because in the end, you know, you're still forced to prove your value, you know, regardless of what you feel. But can you tell us a little bit about how you've experienced and dealt with that over the course of your you know interactions with your environment?
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's always a tough one. You know, I think that the good news is that if you have something different, if you have something that isn't something that everyone has, and it's different or unique, then it's hard for anyone to see color. You know, yeah. So maybe if I had something that other people also had exactly the same thing, then certainly nobody would look at me at all. No one, no one would even need what I have, But because it's different, it's unique. I think that then that's made it. I wouldn't even. I don't want. I like to you use the word easy or easier because as an ethnic minority, we all know what that means and what we all the difficulties we all experience, and we have to work 3 times harder than our white counterparts. But I still think that when you have something different, then sooner or later the doors will open and the opportunity
So just
will come.
keep going and keep giving your best.
Keep going, keep giving your best. We have those role models out there who've done it,
Yeah.
All our heroes who are also ethnic minorities in their respective countries, whether here, whether in the USA, whether in Canada, and they've done it. It's been hard, but they've done it. So we can all do it if we keep at it.
Thank you for sharing that. There's a number of factors you've shared today, including just being resilient and working 2 or 3 times as hard if you have to, but keep your focus and cry. I learned that one too. I'm going to try it really because sometimes it feels like you want to pull your hair out.
You want to cry. Exactly. It makes you feel better.
Yeah, it's not it's not a man thing now. So it's kind of mean.
That means you're going to suffer more. If you just simply cry, no one has to see you. Then you'll feel better.
Yeah. And you have my admiration is 100% for what you've been able to accomplish because it shows that you worked hard. It's not like it just fell on your shoulders. So that is really, really admirable. You were even recently awarded a honorary doctorate degree by which university? Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, by London Metropolitan University. And I remember when I first got it was an email, and I just got an email titled something like offer of honorary doctorate or something like that. I know that I thought it was a clerical error.
No, what? Come on.
I was the wrong person, and I remember opening it and really being transfixed to the spot because I was like, really? That
wow.
They wrote my name there. Like, oh wow.
And you knew nothing about this, right? Nothing about it.
A couple of years before, I knew about I'm part of I was doing some stuff for them, which was like volunteer stuff. So I was on their board, just helping out students, just normal charity volunteer stuff. And then I thought that there could be some sort of I heard about some sort of master's honorary thing going around, but I didn't quite know what that was, or I mean that didn't mean it would come anywhere near me, and I already had a master's anyway. So it wasn't something, so at the time I got this email, it wasn't something I was thinking about, remembered about, nothing at all. And then a doctorate.
This is amazing.
Like, oh wow.
So can you tell us why they chose you for that? Just to give us some insight into, because it's a big country, there's a lot of people but why did they say this is for you?
Well, I can only say what they said
Which is
because I
fair
do
enough.
not know. I don't know till now what they told me, but they said that this honorary doctorate was a recognition of helping children fall in love with mathematics.
Wow.
And I think they were proud that someone who they'd known before. I went to this uni, by the way, 20 years prior.
Yeah.
So I think they were proud that somebody who'd gone to their uni had dedicated their lives to helping children fall in love with maths. And
it is truly amazing. Yeah, because it's a real problem. It's a real problem, and
it is a massive problem.
thank you
It's a massive
for
problem.
following your dream and being passionate about that, because a lot of people probably wouldn't have had answers up till now. So thank you for making it, something that is beyond you and your immediate influence, where you go to a school and teach, you are able to spread the impact in a multiplier kind of way to other people. So thank you for that. That is genius kind of stuff. You
Yeah,
deserve
I
that
don't know if I
doctorate.
can. I don't, I don't know if I can take credit for it though, because even though I was very passionate, even though I'd been in this whole field since '97, just volunteering, really, just supporting. And when I first had the idea to create the game in 2003, and I drew my prototype on paper with pencil, I didn't really like, I told you there were many years in between that and launching it, and I obviously wasn't working on it the whole 13 years full time.
Of course.
So it was just because in that time, I had to, got married, 2 kids, blah, 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 all that stuff. And my own kids, I was helping them with maths, and they were, doing well at maths and, doing very well in class and all that kind of stuff. And I actually felt bad that all these other kids that I could be helping, are suffering from mathematical anxiety.
Nice.
No one to help them. Their parents don't know how. And I felt bad. I felt a bit selfish. And that's why eventually I decided that, you know what, it's fine. Let it fail. It's going to fail anyway.
Oh, thank goodness it didn't.
And now I'm going to launch, and then I'm going to launch it. I just didn't have any pace about it until I actually launched it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad it's doing well.
And then the supports and everything after that from people. I mean, we had huge endorsements from huge organizations and, like people over here, that is, even as an ethnic minorities, putting their nod of approval, just like that honorary doctorate and several other things like that, saying,
amazing.
Well done, keep going, kind of thing, awards and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, So if I didn't get that encouragement from all these other, massive organizations and stuff, and people, saying, no, we want it. Oh, do you have another one? Do you have whatever version of it and all that kind of stuff? Then I wouldn't keep going. There's no way. I would have just done what I felt was my bit, which is to launch the game. And also I was having dreams that I was rescuing children, children were dying, and I was wasting time, and I was like, "What?"
Oh my gosh, that's passionate, right?
I'm gonna launch the game. Don't worry, let it.
Oh my goodness, you were passionate about it. That's important to know. I thought it was. Oh wow, you really were passionate about it. That's good. Okay. So thank you for sharing your very awesome story with us. I know we could get into so many other things like the challenges of marketing and branding and all that, but I think what's important to know is just it all worked out, and you're putting your usual work ethic into making it go stronger. So thank you for sharing that with us. We really appreciate that. I just like to kind of like wrap this up with 2 more questions. The first is that a lot of people struggle with their careers. They are, they don't have fulfillment. They don't feel like the educational system has worked for them. They don't feel like it's worth it, or they feel, you hear it being said that it's a scam, you just pay all this money and, it's not worth it. What kind of advice do you have for people who struggle with their careers, their, trajectory in life based on their learning?
Yeah, I would say I totally disagree that the educational system is, I mean, no doubt it is faulty in some ways. And it depends which country it is, each person is in. No doubt it is faulty. It can be better, but I disagree that education, especially up until and including bachelor's, I disagree, 100% disagree that it's not working or a waste of money. The things that you learn, at, college, secondary school, college, university, there are just key things that include also life skills about just how to be, how to exist, how to solve problems, how to, they just make you generally more intelligent. It doesn't matter what you studied. It doesn't matter if it was, geology or, you studied geology and now you're working in computing or whatever. It doesn't matter. It is the fact that having been through that system, it gives you options that you ordinarily wouldn't have had unless you are a Zuckerberg or a Bill Gates or a some of these people dropped out of uni, right? And a lot of people say, oh, yeah, look at this person, he dropped out and look at him, he's a billionaire or he's a millionaire. Yeah, right. Can you do what he did? He self-studied. Can you self-study? Can you have the discipline to self? Can you set assignments for yourself of things that you need to do that would give you certain skills that you need in life to be able to go on and do well? For the vast majority of us, the answer is no.
Yeah,
so this studies give you options. Something like a master's is optional. You can do it on top of what you already have to maybe specialize in a particular subject or specialize in a particular area, like I did for finance, and I'm not sure that I needed it. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know, but I did it anyway. And if you're not sure, just do it. Whatever it costs, just do it, because you're better off spending that money on improving yourself, on educating yourself, on being a better version of yourself than on frivolous things that you'd like to spend the money on anyway.
Yeah, that's
I would say that education, the education is very, very important, and actually is what you need to have options. I would say it gives options in life. If, for example, I went back to investment banking today to program, I'd still get a job. They'd pay me a lot more than they were paying me when I was there, actually. Especially because I've also done it in an area where many people run away from, as you said, programming, So I would like to encourage everyone as well, in this world of education, if you can specialize in something that people are running away from, you go that opposite direction and try and put that grit and resilience into what it is that they're running away from. And, and then at the end of the day, you'll just have more options than most other people as well.
Thank you. That's
to call on if you need it.
Yeah, that's a gold mine right there. Gold nugget you just shared. Thank you very much. Me too. I'm gonna Java someday.
Well, I didn't say you should go to Java. There's so many other options.
Java. And look at you, you make it look so easy. So thank you for sharing that. That's very important. You have to do what people don't want to do if you want to differentiate yourself.
Absolutely.
Then it looks like it's easy after that. So all right.
All right. It's not.
It's not. You still have to have that same work ethic, obviously, but I think it opens opportunities to you faster and things like that. Absolutely. And then that's when you start to enjoy the benefits of this formal educational system that is being discouraged. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. So, do you have fun at all, or are you a geek all the time?
I think, first of all, I'm a happy person anyway myself, and you see that I'm laughing anyway. So I think, first of all, that is fun, just being silly. I'm at home, I'm always very silly, myself and the kids. I mean, even now, well, we can run around, run up and down the stairs and all that kind of. My husband's a little bit different. He's a bit too serious. So he needs extra fun.
He needs to lighten up, right?
Yeah. But for people like me, who's quite happy to behave like a child, well, only when I'm in the house, of course, then I think we have fun at home anyway, as it is. But then I think that my idea of fun is usually like plunking down in front of the TV when I've done like a 16, 17, 18-hour day and just watching Grey's Anatomy or something. So I know that to be boring, and that's why I warned you up front that I am a geek and I'm a nerd. But the thing is, I'm happy. If I stop being happy about working so many hours, then I would obviously adjust and look for some other fun, even though I don't know what that fun will be. It isn't parties for me. Yeah, I go to parties because I need to go or forced to go or because it's a friend that I need to support. Otherwise, no, I'd rather stay at home.
Wow,
That's
that's
my fun.
interesting. Do you have any like favorite programs, or you just take it all in?
Yeah, no, I love Grey's Anatomy. Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy. Okay,
Yeah. When I say TV, I don't mean actually TV. I mean like movies,
like movies. Okay.
I'm not a movie lover. I don't hate movies, but I don't particularly love movies. But there are certain particular movies or series that I like. And at present, it is Grey's Anatomy, which
I
is an
watched a few of
American.
that. It's a nice program.
Yeah. I like it, so I watch it and I geek
Yeah.
on it whenever I've got time. I geek out
Okay.
on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Togun Olugbodi, for sharing time with us. I know we could go on, but we really appreciate your time with us, and we don't want to take too much of yours. Thank you for being on this program and sharing some of your sunshine with us. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know if I call it sunshine, but anyway, that's
Yeah.
I hope you helped one or two people. And thanks so much for having me on the show. It's really I'm really honored that you
Thank
thought
you.
of
Thank
me
you.
to have me on the show. So thanks for
Thank
having me.
you.
And I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay blessed.
You too.
Bye.
Take care. All right then. Bye.